Hi and welcome to Guardians of Tyr. My name's Barry. Today we have round 2 of the Pitched Battle Tournament that was held at iBuywargames in Woking on the 23rd of September. Both deck construction and match formats were in effect, so that's champions, side decks, best of 3 and champion placement. This game is between Chris playing Death and Mikey playing Destruction. Will card control win versus action efficiency? Stay tuned and see. So Chris beat me in round 1, which is just as well really, because I think everyone spent far too many times watching me play. Chris was one of the staff from iBuywargames. He jumped into the tournament, so there wasn't any buys. So yeah, top marks for iBuy for doing that. Cheers. So for Chris we have a Neferata, a Hungering Vampire Lord and 2 Skeleton Champions, and for Mikey we have Savage Boar Boss, Warboss Recruiter, Loudmouth Mega Boss and a Riptooth Mega Boss. So loads of action efficiency from Mikey. So Mike hits Warboss Recruiter, see what he gets. He gets a Warcall, so no Orc unit to deploy. And then he follows that up with a War Chanter, so he's get extra actions next turn. Okay, Chris puts down a Fearsome Crypt Flyer, so he's going to make that War Chanter dormant. Okay, so Mikey's got 3 actions this turn. That Crypt Flayer's dormancy will kick in next turn. So Mikey needs to get the most out of this extra action. So Warboss Recruiter gets a unit this time. Brute Smashers, 2 damage. Gore Chopper Brute for 1 damage, and then Mikey draws a card for his 3rd. So 2 damage from the Fearsome Crypt Flyer, and the War Chanter's now dormant. So it's whether or not Mikey has got a Deadly Chop in his hand to get that War Chanter going again, or maybe he's got another action efficiency card. Frenzied Vargeist goes into play, so Chris is going to kill off that the Chopper unit next turn and gain an extra action. So 1 damage and then 2 damage from Mikey's units respectively. It's just readdressing the quests that the Loudmouth Mega Boss has done. Deadly Chop for the Frenzied Vargeist, 1 damage. So he's not going to give any extra actions to Chris. Warboss Recruiter picks up another Deadly Chop. 2 damage from the Crypt Flyer. Freakish Crypt Coral goes into play, so he's going to do damage and gain health, and Devour to remove that unit. So Mikey's go, no damage there. So because of Devour he needs to put the Frenzied Vargeist back into his deck. So Orc Scrappers go on, stacking unit, so they're going to deal an additional damage now, and Brute Smashers go into play. Loudmouth Mega Boss has done his blessing. Might of Gork, 3 damage coming for the next 3 turns. So 1 damage, gains 1 health, and the Crypt Flayers go away. So that War Chanter is going to come into effect from next turn for Mikey, and he's going to start picking up extractions. Devour on the stacked unit, and he puts the Fearsome Crypt Flyer back into his deck. So second turn, skips that, draws a card. So 2 damage, 1 extraction. 3 damage from Might of Gork Blessing. So War Boss Recruiter goes. Gets a Pouncing Wolf Rider, so it's not an Orc unit to deploy. So Pouncing Wolf Rider goes into play, Savage Boss rotates him, Mikey picks up an extraction, then draws some cards. Freakish Crypt Horror deals no damage. Frenzied Vargeist goes into play, so Chris is trying to kill off Mikey's extractions. So that's never a bad plan. Keep the Orcs at bay. 3 damage from Might of Gork. So Chris has taken a hell of a lot of damage. It's whether or not he's got any more healing cards. War Boss Recruiter gets his unit. Gore Chopper Brute goes into play. So Mikey just draws his cards. So Frenzied Vargeist is going to deal its damage and remove that Pouncing Wolf Rider. So there we go. So he's got an additional action. Neferata should turn because her first quest is remove. Chris has decided not to play her ability, and Freakish Crypt Horror deals 2 damage and gains 2 health. So it's whether or not Mikey, when he was picking those 3 cards last time, has picked up any more of his action efficiency cards. We've already seen 2 of them in the Chanter and the Pouncing Wolf Rider. 1 damage from the choppers. Okay, Pouncing Wolf Rider. So Savage Boar Boss triggers the rotation, so Mikey's still got 2 actions. Big Stabber Crew, and then Mikey draws a card. So a lot of people put the Big Stabber Crew opposite the Loud Mouth War Boss, but Chris had a unit there, so there was no point triggering its effect. So Ravenous Crypt goes in, so steady damage dealing unit. Chris reveals his blessing and gets Supernatural Horror, so Mikey's units are all dormant for the next 3 turns. So massive card for Death. So it's whether or not Mikey's got events in his hand, or he's just going to be drawing cards like mad, and see what the state of play is after this Supernatural Horror's gone. Arcane Bolt goes in. Thing is, for Death, they make all your guys dormant. You can't do anything for 3 turns, but Death don't have many units that deal a lot of damage, so it can do a lot, can stall you a lot, but yeah, they can't. Sometimes they just can't finish you off while you're dormant. So another Arcane Bolt goes into play. So we know Mikey's got a deadly chop because he picked that up earlier with the Recruiter. Murderous Vargeist goes into play, 2 damage. So deadly chop there, that's gone, 1 damage. War Boss Recruiter goes all the way around. What blessing does he get? He gets Smash and Bash. It does 5 damage, Normally would rotate all of his units, but they're all dormant, so no one's going anywhere. So Mikey's just getting a rules check on that. So Chris is down to 5. So 2 damage from the Ravenous Crypts and 2 from the Murderous Vargeist. So just making sure that he's rotated that Supernatural Horror. Chris plays a lot online, so like most online players, sometimes they forget to do their rotations because the muscle memory is just not there from when you've played in real life. So Mikey's just drawing cards. The only card he played during the Supernatural Horrors effect was the Deadly Chop to get rid of one of those Arcane Bolts. So over the course of 3 turns, he's drawn 5 cards. So 7 damage from Arcane Bolt, 3 damage from the Ravenous Crypt Ghouls, 1 damage from Murderous Vargeist. So Mikey's down to 5 apiece. Chris has got 2 actions. Can he finish Mikey off? So Devour on the Brute Choppers. So Chris is just fishing for a unit. So puts the Frenzy Vargeist back in his deck. Always good to get a removal card, even though it only does 1 damage, but the potential of getting 3 actions, yeah, you're not going to turn that card down. It's either that or the Feasting Vargeist, so you heal and then gain additional cards. That's always a nice one to get back. So Hungering Vampire Lord discards a card. Chris gains 2 health. He's back up to 7. Discards a Scrying Pool to do that though. 1 damage from the Big Stabber Crew. So Rallying Cry, so he's going to deploy 2 units. Okay, so Trampling Grunter and a Big Stabber Crew. So Mikey's still got an action left. So he's whether or not he's going to do that Loudmouth Mega Boss to rotate the Trampling Grunter, deal 4 damage, put Chris down to 1. No, it doesn't do anything. So everything rotates out for Chris. So it's whether or not he's got some abilities. Frightful Strike, Curse Strike will finish Mikey off. You certainly can't deal any damage from Heroic Axe. So he's going to take a hefty whack from the Big Stabber Crew because that's going to get additional damage because it's not got anything engaged with it. So Frightful Strike. So it's going to do 3 damage. So puts him down to 2. And then he's drawing. He didn't have the card to finish Mikey off. Even an Opportunity Strike would have done it. So 8 damage. Mikey takes the first round. So Chris managed to hold Mikey at bay. The Supernatural Horror did stall Mikey for a while. But as I was saying, sometimes Death just doesn't have enough to finish the job. So we'll see if Chris can come back in game 2. So game 2, here we go. So Chris has decided that Mikey's going to go first, so he's laid a Savage Boar Boss. So we've got a Hungering Vampire Lord and a Skeleton Champion. So whether or not Mikey changes his formation, probably not. Looking at that, Loudmouth Mega Boss and a Riptooth Mega Boss. Then we've got a Skeleton Champion and Neferata going in, and Mikey finishes with a War Boss Recruiter. So Mikey's going to go first. As he start off with an action card, War Boss Recruiter, Big Stabber Crew. So Chris has to oppose that or he's going to take extra damage. Mikey draws a card for his second action. Scrying Pool for Chris, so he's going to look at the top 4 cards, put them back in any order he likes. Teeing up his deck for good draws. Okay, so he puts a Feasting Vargeist opposite the Big Stabber Crew, so that's good. So gains a health. There we go. So 33 health. 1 damage from the Big Stabber Crew. War Boss Recruiter, what's he get? A Rallying Cry. And then draws a card. Gains 1 health. Next time, Chris is going to draw potentially 5 cards next round, so it's a massive haul. Another Scrying Pool goes in, so he's pretty much seen all the cards he's going to see, bar 1. It's whether or not he wants to put that 4th card on the top of his deck. So Mikey's only got abilities in his hand, so he's relying on that War Boss Recruiter a lot then. Another Feasting Vargeist goes in, so another health, another piece of health for Chris, more cards. So Chris has got all of his card draw, it looks like, and Mikey's stuck with with only abilities. So War Chanter. So he does a Rallying Cry for his second action. So Brute Smasher and a War Chanter. So 2 damage and gains an additional action next turn. So Chris is going to draw 5 cards overall this turn. Gains a health. Okay, so he had a hefty 5 cards. Whether or not he pulled a stacking unit is, yeah, we'll have to see. Otherwise, Chris is going to be drawing 2 cards. So, loads of options for Chris. Okay, so Chris passes, draws 2 cards. So, Mikey's going to do 2 damage. He's got 3 actions this turn. War Boss Recruiter. Another War Chanter. So, Mikey's looking at loads of options next turn. Deadly Chop to get rid of the Scrying Pool. He doesn't want to give Chris any more cards. Chris is going to draw 2 cards this turn. Mikey draws a card. 2 cards from the Feasting Vargeist. So he just needs to have drawn some good cards and now make some decent plays. He's got to get rid of these War Chanters. He can't let Mikey have 4 actions for the next couple of turns. Feasting Vargeist. So he's going to remove one of those War Chanters and gain an additional action next turn. And a Soul Feast. So he's going to remove the Brute Smashes in front of him next turn and gain 6 health. So Mikey's got 4 actions this turn. So another deadly chop. It's got rid of Soul Feast, 1 damage. So he gets Usher in the War. So he draws 3 cards. Any units revealed, he can deploy them. So the Wolf Rider rotates, and again still keeps his 4 actions. And then Mikey draws. So they've both got a hefty amount of cards in their hand. Feasting Vargeist goes off, removes that Wild Chanter. Chris has now got 3 actions. Let's see if he can fill up his board, get some units rotating. So Murderous Vargeist goes into play, does 2 damage. Curse Strike does an additional 3 damage. He's going to rotate that War Chanter. So Mikey's done that the wrong way. So it's a good way of rotating out that War Chanter and not give Mikey any more actions. So they're just correcting Mikey's rotation. There we go. So Mikey's down to 2 actions this turn. So is he going to hit that Recruiter? Rally Cry. So he's going to deploy 2 units. He should have some in there. He just drew 4 cards. So Big Stabber Crew. So Chris is going to rotate that Feasting Vargeist, Frenzied Vargeist out. So he needs to put a unit there to replace it. And a Sweeping Gore Grunter to wipe the board. So hits his Loudmouth Mega Boss, clears the board, and deals 1 damage. So Chris has to fill the gap opposite the Big Stabber Crew. So this game Mikey really hasn't got going. So yeah, there's not a lot of damage been inflicted on either side. So Feasting Vargeist, gain 1 health, and he's going to draw 1. So 2 damage, 1 extra action for Mikey. Another Rallying Cry. We saw that he had all of them in his hand at the beginning of the this round, or this game I should say. So, Banner Carrier. So, units to either side of it can't be removed, and it's a damage multiplier card on its 3rd and 4th corner. So, Mikey gets Might of Gork for a blessing. So, here comes the damage train. We've got Gore Chopper Brute, another damage. And then Mikey draws 2. So 1 health back from the Feasting Vargeist. So Curse Strike for 3 damage. If he deploys a unit, he's going to get a blessing. Murderous Vargeist, see what blessing he gets. Okay, Orb of Immortality. So that's a very good one against Destruction. As soon as he gets reduced to 0 health, he can ignore that last piece of damage and gain 4 health instead. 3 damage overall for Chris. Another 3 from Might of Gork. So still fairly even in damage. So another Pouncing Wolf Rider. So 1 damage. Mikey hasn't lost any actions because he's hit that corner. Warkle. So everyone's going to rotate once. We get Cruising for a Bruising. So when Orcs leave play, it's going to turn round its clunky corner. And as soon as 2 Orc units leave play, it's going to inflict 12 damage. So 4 damage from the choppers. That's all that's happened. The big stabber crew will leave play, should leave play. That should actually leave play now and trigger the Cruising for a Bruising. Trigger that once. Mikey draws a card. Draw 2 cards because of the Feasting Vargeist. 2 damage from the Murderous Vargeist. So they're just discussing the Cruising for a Bruising card, and when that Orb of Immortality will kick in, it's which order the damage actually goes in, which is in standard order. So blessings go first, then champions, then units. So with Mikey rotating, Cruising for a Bruising will go first. Orb of Immortality will trigger and ignore the 12 damage and then give him 4 health. So we'll be back up to 15. Or even Might of Gork will go off first, so he'll be down to 8. And then he'll be back to 12. So because they're unsure of how the orders will go in, I think Chris doesn't really know what to lay at the minute. It's kind of like, am I dead or am I not dead? So he decides to draw 2. So they're just getting a rule. They're just getting a rule clarification on how things activate.
I've got a weird one. So I've just started my turn. I've got things leaving play, and I've got blessings that just consume the turn. So, well, but that's not going to do anything yet. So this happens first.
Yeah, left to right, blessings.
And damage.
Yes.
3 damage.
No, rotate everything.
Go back, rotate everything. 12 damage straight away.
So that gets
No. So everything rotates.
everything rotates.
And then we go blessings.
Then you go blessings.
So 3 damage from Might of Gork, 12 from Cruising for a Bruising. So that gets ignored by the Orb of Immortality, plus 4 health. Now the units trigger. 1 damage from the Pouncing Wolf Rider and 1 extraction. So after all that, Chris is on 11. So Orb of Immortality saved his bacon there. So Sweeping Gore Grunter goes into play. And a Wire Chanter. So Mikey's looking at extractions next turn. 1 damage from the Murderous Vargeist. So Chris tried to use Devour on the Sweeping Gore Grunter. Can't be removed because of the banner carrier sitting next to him. So he's taken that back. I think he's trying to get an ability off to get this Skeleton Champion rotated and then play a unit straight after. Whether or not he can, you know, you're trying to get Supernatural Horror, slow Mikey down, get yourself back in and regroup a bit. So he's just checking the recruiter to make sure he doesn't do something like the Loudmouth Mega Boss Heroic Act. So Frenzy Vargeist goes in. So Chris is looking at taking out the Gore Grunter. Devour on the Banner Carrier.
Yeah, but he's going next turn.
No, I mean, I've done that.
Okay, so he's going to fish in his discard pile, get something back in his deck. It's a little bit wasted ability because the Banner Carrier was going out. Chris could really do with getting some of those crypt flayers out to make some of Mikey's units dormant that did so well in the last game. So Mikey's on 3 actions. So everyone's going to rotate once. So Mikey removes the board because of the sweeping Gore Grunter. And then Mikey's back up to 3 actions. Reveals a blessing. 5 damage with Smash and Bash. And then moves units round. So he's not... so he's gained another action there.
Everything goes round to his final corner. No, that's just an action. Oh, okay, so up to 4 actions.
So now Mikey's up to 4. So whether or not he can finish him off, he's on 5 health. So we've got a Trampling Grunter. Savage Ball Boss triggers for 2. Trampling Gore Grunter goes in. Loudmouth Mega Boss triggers him right round, dealing 4. So Mikey shouldn't have deployed that second Trampling Grunter. He wasn't under a Rallying Cry, so you can't deploy the same card twice. A spectator pointed out his error after the game had finished, and Mikey did have a card that would deal 4 damage under Loudmouth War Boss. So Mikey won that match 2 games to 0. Stay tuned for round 3. We'll bring that soon. Cheers guys, thank you, bye bye.